Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, we're going to practice what we learned yesterday, or in our last video, rather. We had just a lot of vocab, a lot of definitions, a lot of just spotting things and finding out where they are and what they mean. In this video, we're going to practice those definitions. We're going to look at a bunch of different transverse angle pairs and see if we can tell. Are they alternate interior? Are they corresponding? Are they alternate exterior? Or are they consecutive? Let's begin. As always with these practice videos, I highly encourage you, pause the video, try them yourself, and then see if you get the same answers as Mr. Grapp. You're going to learn a whole lot more if you actively practice rather than passively listen. Okay? All right, let's try this out. First one, number one, A and B. If we look at A and B, notice that they are on the outside of our parallel lines. That is a big hint. They're on the exterior of our parallel lines. See how that interior is completely empty? That river is running free? Well, there's really only one set of transverse angles that are both on the outside. Those are our alternate exterior angles. So these are alternate exterior. See, they're on the outside and they're on opposite sides. Opposite, alternate, exterior, outside. And just as for kicks and giggles, let's see, do we remember? Are they going to be congruent or supplementary? Because those are the only two options. Either they're congruent or supplementary. Well, thinking back to our wonderful definitions, I know that all alternate exterior angles are congruent. And let me give you guys a little tip here. Okay, this is only going to really work for this concept because there really is only two options, congruent or supplementary. If the two angles are congruent, well, they're going to look like each other, right? Because congruent means equal to. So take a look at angle A. Notice how it's obtuse. Take a look at angle B. Notice how it is also obtuse. Well, if my only options are congruent, meaning the same, or supplementary, meaning one's obtuse and one's acute, it really just gives the answer away. So even if you can't remember the rules immediately, you can still gauge it just by looking at it. These two angles look the same, and since the only options are the same or different, they must be congruent. A little trick of the trade there. Don't abuse it. It might bite you in the butt, but for this concept, very simple. If they look the same, it's because they are the same. All right, let's move on to number two. A and B. Look at these guys. Look at these two angles, huh? They're both in the inside, right? They're on the inside of my parallel lines, and they're on opposite sides. Opposite, alternate, inside, interior. This is a textbook case of alternate interior angles. Alternate interior. I swear that says interior. Trust me. Okay. And are they congruent or supplementary? Well, I can look back at my definitions. In fact, I can just scroll back up because this is where they are. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Or I could just use the knowledge that if there's only two options, congruent or supplementary, angle A is obtuse, angle B is also obtuse. Right now, the only other option is congruent. A and B are congruent. Dunskies. Let's look at angle 3. Or sorry, number 3. Okay, we've got A and B. One's on the inside, one's on the outside, so it's not alternate interior or alternate exterior, so we can cross those off. So it can only be corresponding or consecutive. Now, this one's going to be kind of tricky to find, but consecutive angles are angles that are both on the inside. These aren't both on the inside, so that leaves us with just corresponding. So there we go. These must be corresponding angles. And, and it matches corresponding angles. This is on this cluster of angles. This is on the bottom left of the cluster of angles. B is also on the bottom left of the cluster of angles. Another way, A, I skip that one and go straight to the one after it. It skips one and goes to the next. So this matches up with corresponding angles quite simply. And corresponding angles are congruent. Again, I could look back at my definitions, or I could just take a look at the dang angle. Look, A is acute, B is acute. My only options are congruent or supplementary. 3/4 of the time, they're going to be congruent. So honestly, congruent is a really good guess here. Cool. Number 4. A and B. Once again, A and B, they're not both on the outside, so they're not alternate exterior. They're not both on the inside, so that gets rid of consecutive and alternate interior. That leaves us with just, again, corresponding. Look at that. A matching one right next to it, corresponding. And just like before, corresponding angles are congruent. All right, next one. Angle 5, or number 5. Okay, they're both on the inside. So we're looking at either consecutive or alternate interior, but they're on opposite sides of the inside. Opposite, alternate, inside, interior. Alternate interior angles are congruent. How about these guys right here? A and B, they're both on the inside, so it's either going to be alternate interior or consecutive, but they're both on the same side of the transversal. Alternate interior, same side. Nope. Alternate means opposite. So these must be consecutive angles. And they are. They're adjacent to each other on the same side of the transversal and on the inside of the parallel lines. There you have it. Now, this is where I was saying it might bite you in the butt, because if you look at it, these two angles almost look exactly the same, right? So you might be tempted to say, oh, they look the same. Mr. Grapp said they're congruent. This is where I said don't abuse it because it could bite you in the butt. In this case, even though they look the same, I need to remember my definitions. Consecutive angles are supplementary. And this is the only situation where they're supplementary. Every other situation, they're congruent. But consecutive angles are supplementary. So I need to be aware of that rule. Again, for the most part, if they look alike, they're going to be congruent. But we need to remember, consecutive is the only situation where they aren't congruent. Okay, next one. 7. They're not both on the outside, so it's not alternate exterior. They're not both on the inside, so it's not consecutive or alternate interior. It looks like it starts here, skips one, and jumps to the next. So this must be corresponding again. Man, that's the third one today. These ones are congruent. How about these guys right here? Well, they're on opposite sides of the transversal. They're on the outside of the transversal, so they're on opposite or alternate exterior sides, alternate exterior angles. That makes these congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. 9. It's the same thing. They're on the opposite side. They're on the outside. So they're alternate exterior angles. Cool. And the last one. And they're congruent. And the last one. Oh my gosh. 3 in a row. Can you believe it? Alternate exterior angles again. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. They're on the outside of the parallel lines. That means they're on alternate exterior sides, alternate exterior angles. And alternate exterior angles are congruent. Luckily enough, though, I think we've hit all 4 of the different types of situations. Alternate exterior, correct. Corresponding, check. Consecutive, check. And alternate interior, was there 2 of them? There you go, check. So we've hit all of our bases here, folks. Notice, look how many of them are congruent. That's because 3/4 of the angle pairs are congruent. There's only one angle pairing where they're not congruent. So congruent, if you're going to guess, if you're on like a state test or something and you just have to guess, well, congruent is probably your best guess. But if you don't have to guess, please remember, consecutive angles are supplementary. All right, folks, I think that's going to call it for this video here. Hopefully you practiced along. In the next video, I think we're going to try and take this information about consecutive or corresponding angles being supplementary or congruent and then use that to find some missing values. I'll see you there.